Tonight, Illegitimate Hawaii, Aloha-Uprising at the Kanaka Gardens, and the Grassroot Institute. But first, the Hypocrite of the Century Award.
Now I ask you, is this person going for the Hypocrite of the Century Award? Because we have to call things by their right names. And the reality is that by any serious examination, this man is a war criminal. He has just announced his decision to supply arms to the Syrian opposition, including the jihadists, fueling the destabilisation of that region and continuing to undermine secularism and knock back conditions for women. This is the man who is in essence stalling the Geneva peace talks by trying to broker enhanced leverage for the Syrian opposition by giving them arms, and to hell with the thousands more who lose their lives, or the tens of thousands more who will be displaced as this war goes on. This is the man who has facilitated a 200% increase in the use of drones, which have killed thousands of people, including hundreds of children.
If you have nothing to hide, then you have nothing to fear. We've all heard this argument a million times when talking to people about the latest revelations of government snooping or the latest rollout of creepy Orwellian technology. The implication is that the only people who complain about having their privacy violated are criminals who deserve to have their privacy violated. It is a simple phrase, learned by rote, that is meant to bring the conversation to a close. We all know that this argument is fundamentally flawed, but sometimes it's difficult to argue the point with someone who insists that they are fine with seemingly any level of government intrusion in their personal lives. Recently, Dan Dix of pressfortruth.ca demonstrated in a simple, fun way the limits of people's willingness to abide by the maxim that they have nothing to fear because they have nothing to hide.
Why don't you just start us off, tell us your name?
Gary Burnell and my wife Krellin.
My name's Ron and I'm from Florida.
Where are you from?
Seattle, Washington.
I'm from Florida.
Australia, New South Wales, Australia.
What's your Facebook password?
I'm not going to give you my Facebook password.
What's your bank account number?
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, see.
What did you search last night on Google?
I don't like this interview.
So why are people, sometimes the very same people who argue that they have nothing to hide, reluctant to give away all of their personal information to a random person on the street? Obviously, because they do not know that person or his intentions. He could be a criminal attempting to steal the information so he can access their bank account or steal their identity. Even if he wasn't a criminal, who's to say where the information would end up, and whether it may eventually end up in the hands of some nefarious criminal? For some reason, people believe that allowing the government to spy on all of their electronic communications is somehow different. These aren't random criminals on the street, after all, but government agencies. The information is not being accessed randomly. It is being used for official investigations into terrorism or wrongdoing. Our personal data, even our bank account numbers and personal histories, are surely safe with these government agencies and their trusted employees. But think for a moment about the recent NSA spying scandal and what it has taught us. As much as Edward Snowden's critics attempt to demonize him by pointing out that he's a high school dropout, an army quitter, a lowly security guard who somehow or other flubbed his way into a job where he gained access to this top-secret information, what these critics don't realize is that they are making the very point for why we should not be happy in trusting our most personal information to a bunch of faceless government agencies. Because the faceless government agencies aren't really faceless at all. They are populated by the very same types of potential criminals and no-goodniks that we would avoid sharing our personal information with on the street. Think about the extraordinary amount of data that someone like Snowden, a lowly employee of a subcontractor of the NSA, can access about you personally at any time he desires. As he himself stated,
But I, sitting at my desk, certainly had the authorities to wiretap anyone, from you or your accountant to a federal judge to even the president if I had a personal email.
You have something to fear about giving up private data to faceless individuals precisely because you have no idea how these people are going to use that information or whether it will ever be misused. And when you realize that with the construction of the NSA's new 1.5 million square foot data center in Utah, the US government now has the ability to essentially store all of this data forever, You were entrusting your personal information not just to one potential criminal on the street, but to every single federal employee who ever has access to that data, all the subcontractors who similarly can access the data, and anyone else who might be able to gain access to that data illegally. The government is essentially creating a trough of information that would be almost literally invaluable to any potential criminal or group of criminals, and making every effort to ensure that that trough is never emptied. How can anyone possibly be okay with this? Think about this the next time someone tries to tell you they have nothing to hide.
Aloha mai kako, you are watching Hawaii Political Reporter.
Some of the history about this kingdom is the United States actually took over in 1887 with the Bannock Constitution and the Reciprocity Treaty, which stationed the U.S. Navy illegally at Pearl River, which violated the U.S. Constitution, therefore violated the sovereignty of the Hawaiian Kingdom. And from that point on, they've been here ever since with a treaty that was not based on the U.S. Constitution. So you can see how they're actually using the Northwest Ordinance of 1787, which most people refer to as the Monroe Doctrine, to go outside of and beyond the U.S. Constitution, the prohibitions. That 1887 Reciprocity Treaty was supposed to be a trade treaty, or treaty dealing with sugar. And what it did was they used it as a means to station the U.S. Navy at Pearl River, and from that point on, they considered anything shipped from Hawaii was part of the United States, or should I say Washington, D.C., which is where the Northwest Ordinance actually jurisdiction resides. And from that point on, they just took over everything, including the removal of the Queen. 1893, the Queen had signed a lottery bill into law on the morning of January 13, that it would raise revenue for the kingdom $500,000 for 25 years, and the Queen was to get paid $4,500. And with that came the abolishment of the taxes of the 1887 Bannock Constitution, which allowed the foreigners to vote. And the United States saw that as a threat, being that the foreigners could not vote. Let me remind you that the 1887 Constitution did not naturalize foreign nationals. It just allowed them to vote by them paying the taxes and so-called owning land, which they cannot actually do. But that's how they got the right to vote. They use a gun. Since the Hawaiian Kingdom had no gun control, the foreigners armed themselves. They even brought over mercenaries to use against the kingdom, which was King Kalakaua at that time. Well, the takeover of the kingdom goes way back to King Kamehameha V, where they tried to have him by treaty place his kingdom under the Northwest Ordinance of 1787, which is Monroe Doctrine. And he died before that happened, so that was scrapped, but they never set it aside. They kept continuously trying to place his kingdom under the Northwest Ordinance. And they did so back in 1887. Then in 1893, the only thing that happened was the removal of the Queen because of the signing of the lottery bill. And then she being the first prosecutor with the gun control, arms to be licensed under the Penal Code. On the Navy ship that was stationed at Pearl River, there was an illegal standing army on board, which it violates the U.S. Constitution, the separation of the Navy and the Army. The Navy is only on the high seas or international waters. The Army is only, Congress can raise and support an Army for a term no longer than 2 years. But you can see they've been continuous in whatever they've been doing, because they're not using the U.S. Constitution. They're actually using the Northwest Ordinance of 1787. That's where they got the extra powers to do things by joint resolution in Washington, D.C. So if one was to challenge the Northwest Ordinance, they would have to fly to Washington, D.C. and challenge them, including the jurisdiction of the state of Hawaii, which resides in Washington, D.C., not here. This is the Hawaiian Kingdom. So the jurisdiction and venue for things dealing with the Hawaiian Kingdom is here. But if you're challenging the state of Hawaii, you need to fly to D.C., because that's where it was created. If one was to read the history, 1897, the kingdom's treaty ended, so the Republic of Hawaii, which consisted of 13 foreigners who could not naturalize themselves, had no treaties, or could not even naturalize anyone, was going to be without a treaty. So in 1898, by joint resolution, gave the sovereignty of the kingdom, crown and government lands, and other property belonging to the kingdom to the United States Congress, which was they had no authority to do, and the United States, under its own constitution, had no authority to receive. And that's why you're going to notice that everything started taking full-on Monroe Doctrine after that. The creation in 1900 of the Organic Act, which created the territory of Hawaii, and in 1950, the territory of Hawaii wrote a constitution to create the state of Hawaii, which is one and the same. There's no separation. Both were created under the Northwest Ordinance as Steinbeck stated in the 1950 Constitutional Convention, his first message. And if one was to read even the Admission Act, it's still, everything about the Admission Act is based on the Northwest Ordinance. There was a long-standing conspiracy between the President and the U.S. Congress to take over lands, whether it be colonies by another colonial power, and just that the Hawaiian Kingdom was conveniently in the way and in the process of taking over Asia. So they needed the Hawaiian Kingdom to get to Asia. So it was a stepping stone that they needed. So they felt that using force would be the best thing to do. A lot of the Asians don't realize that the United States was out to take over Asia, which they eventually did. They took over Japan after World War II.
Dwight, I thought Cleveland was against this. Wasn't it Cleveland at the time who was resisting that, and it was Dole and the others who took it for their own personal gain, essentially?
Well, even though he was against it, he never came out and stopped it, because he knew all along that the United States had a long-standing operation under the Northwest Ordinance. He never came clean and told the Queen what it was actually up to. So it was no secret that he was on both sides. Well, what I understand is dealing with land issues as usual. The state claiming they own the land, which if you read the 1959 Admission Act, they got no title to the land. What the Republic of Hawaii gave to Congress in 1887 was crown and government lands. In 1959, those crown and government lands never returned. So technically it's still with the kingdom because it was never given away. And the state of Hawaii never received title, which is crown and government lands.
Anything else that's relevant you'd like to say for anybody out there who might be seeing this who might not know much about Hawaii?
They got to do a lot of reading. And it's not only Hawaii's history, but it's also the 13 United States history, because it's all intertwined. So they'll impose a lot of their laws and their words on paper that's not actually law on anybody outside of the United States.
I thought you told me once that was only the 13 states, actually.
Yeah, the United States today only got 13 states because the 37 are actually corporations. That's why when you look at the U.S. flag, there's 13 stripes and 50 stars. Each state should be represented by one star, one stripe. The 13 are, and they're called nation states. The 37 are called incorporated states under the Monroe Doctrine. So that needs to be questioned too.
Aloha mai kako, you are watching Hawaii Political Reporter.
Hi, this is Gene Tamashiro. I'm speaking from the Big Island near the Kamehameha statue in Hilo, and we're planting food. We're planting food, and that should be a good thing, but it turns out to be it's a very controversial thing here on the Big Island. Actually, we've been in the controversy more and more and more as time goes by. We've been here for 7 months. The first time we came was to protest and to try to raise awareness about all the heva, Hawaiians call it heva, the injustice, the evil, the bad that's going on all over the world. And especially here in Hawaii, it hits doubly hard because some of us, a lot of us, many of us, perhaps even most of us now know the true political status of Hawaii. This is something we never learned growing up. This is something my dad never learned while growing up here. Maybe when Grandpa came, he knew about it, but he was still speaking Japanese when he came, actually Okinawan. And Okinawa was another similar place like Hawaii because the Japanese came and took Hawaii. Well, actually, this is what happened. Is that the Americans, about 120 years ago, actually 120 plus years ago, come January 17th, 2013, illegally, treasonously arrested our queen. So on January 17th, like maybe the third or fourth event, we've had events here, been planting kalo, planting food, knowing full well, because we've done our homework, okay, and you should do too. If you're watching this, you're probably the type of person that follows the truth, that values the truth. And we do value the truth. We feel it's something important, it's part of our soul, something that we need to protect. And you can't protect it if you just sit down and just watch it on TV. or talk about it with your friends at the kitchen table. We must engage life on Earth as true humans. So what did we find out? That Hawaii is really not the 50th state. The 50th state is not Hawaii. It's a fake state, Hawaii. Ooh, now why is this true? Actually, it is true. It's not the 50th state because there's no lawful treaty of annexation. Let me say it again. There is no lawful treaty of annexation between the Hawaiian Kingdom and the United States. What happened 120 years ago is that our queen, Liliuokalani, got arrested by a bunch of guys. Oh, they happen to be mostly white, maybe white to the man, doesn't matter, I'm not a racist, but this is what happened. Sons of missionaries and sons of sugar barons and sugar barons themselves finding their way into the political system, swearing an allegiance to the Hawaiian Kingdom, became traitors. And they conspired. They conspired with the Minister Stevens from the United States. And then they pretended that their lives were in danger. And that they called in the U.S. Marines. And all of this, everybody knew that something really bad in Heva was happening. And people were ready to exchange gunfire. And the Queen said no. The Queen didn't want to spill blood needlessly. And who would want to go at war with the United States? Nobody. A little island kingdom couldn't go to war with the United States. So the Queen surrendered temporarily. She forgave and trusted the American people, the U.S. Constitution, and those that are leaders in America, and went to President Cleveland and said, please reinstate me, make this right. This is what happened. And Cleveland sent a fella named Blount, and he came and he investigated the whole thing. The Blount report is there for all people to see. The evidence is everywhere. It's overwhelming evidence, just like 9/11. That something really bad is going on here, just like the Federal Reserve, just like the Boston bombings, just like every other thing that we don't get any real information on. So we're tired of it in Hawaii, like everywhere else. So what we decided to do is to proclaim the true political status of Hawaii, which is simply a U.S. military occupation. No more than that, no less than that. It is not a lawful state. Now, it came as a shock to me. And maybe I wouldn't think about it so much if the United States hadn't gone so rogue upon itself and the world. And honestly, a free Hawaii will go a very long way, we believe, because we're intermarried with everybody all over the planet. Here in Hawaii, the pico of the planet, in the center of the Pacific, all the races, all the families are one. But a free Hawaii will go a long way in restoring the constitutional republic that now imposes its rogue and self-destructive will on the peaceful people of Aloha here in Hawaii. So we decided we had to. Where are we going to go? When we had 1,000 people in this little sleepy town, 1,000 people just on this side of this island get together in front of this statue, all the families of every race marching all the way into downtown saying no to GMO and no to Monsanto. And why at this statue? Because Bishop Estate, the largest private landowner here in Hawaii, part of Kamehameha School, maybe the richest endowment school in the country. I don't know how to say it. They're rich. They got money. It's a big private landowner monopoly entity. They're huge. Okay? Supposed to be their mission to take care of the Aina and the Kekeoka Aina, the Hawaiian people. The people of Hawaii, Bishop Estate. But they would rather get money from Monsanto in exchange for thousands of acres to create the world's largest open field genetically modified organism testing site in the world. Here we are in paradise, and we can't even get a GMO labeling law passed with overwhelming support like everywhere else to get Monsanto out of here. So this is what we did. We took this 3 acres in front of this place and we created a Monsanto and GMO and pesticide Roundup free zone. Right there, that 3 acres. And we did it for 7 months. And every month from the first day, September 11, 2012, we came out here and, well, before we came, we gave written notice. We gave open-hearted, truthful claim of what we know about this land, this Aina, and we have evidence to back it up. And we asked them, when are you going to provide the evidence? Them, who's them? The state of Hawaii, which is a puppet government of the United States, which is a puppet government of who knows where. But they're certainly not representing the will of the people, not in Washington, not on the West Coast, and certainly not here anymore. So the solution is malama aina. Take care of the land, plant food, grow food. Be a human being with each other. Be truthful. The truth matters. So that little garden over there, we wanted to create what the Hawaiians call a pu'u honua. A pu'u honua is where you leave your political and personal differences aside. Leave your pilikia, and I got a lot. And I deserve to have a lot because I've done my homework, and I'm really frustrated like a lot of you people out there. If you've been watching this, you know what's going on. And it's so frustrating to have the mainstream media continue to lie to us because we know the effect. And God bless you, Ross, and thank you everybody who's doing alternative media. For people who are following the truth, thank you very much. It really means a lot. And so it's encouraging. It's encouraging to me that this is happening, and I hope it is to you that this is happening. So 7 months, giving them notice and waiting for some kind of response, official response about the elephant in the room in Hawaii that everybody knows, that we know, that they know, that we know, that they know, that the emperor has no clothes in Hawaii. And that's not the end of the world. A military occupation is not the end of the world, but you must call a spade a spade. Don't play a football game with imposing football rules when actually we're playing baseball. This is the Hawaiian Kingdom. It never ended. The Queen was illegally arrested. This is a military occupation. Whoa! Now think about this. All the positives, the great potential of a free Hawaii. We wouldn't need the Jones Act, which creates a monopoly for shipping for the United States. All the countries in the world could bring their ships over here, and we could manage our borders and our trade openly, fairly, with aloha, and our cost of living, by the way, would drop 25 to 30% overnight if we were a free Hawaii, because we could aloha the Jones Act. If we were a free Hawaii, we could grow hemp. We could grow the world's best cannabis, medicine, not drugs. We could grow the world's best crops for food everywhere. This park, part of the 1.8 million acres, the so-called ceded land that was never ceded, that was actually stolen crown land, and we all have proof of that. Stolen crown lands by the Republic of Hawaii, which is made of the same guys that arrested the Queen, being Dole, Thurston, Smith, etc., etc. And God bless their grandchildren because they're intermarried with us too. So we're all stuck here. And the law enforcement is stuck too. They're in prison as much as us. And so we outreach the law enforcement, and they've been nice today because of overwhelming popularity of the event. They haven't stopped by, but they know me and I know them, and they know the emperor has no clothes also. And we're all stuck in prison. So we can say the things that they can't say, and God bless the cops and the law enforcement personnel who are at least humane enough that they can talk story with us off the record, if you will, and if they have to come, if the call comes in from Honolulu, okay, take these people out. Take the garden out. Bring in the bulldozers, which is what they did 2 days before the Merry Monarch parade. They did that without any conversation, without any ho'oponopono. So, where are we going next? Well, before I talk about where we're going to go next, can I say how grateful I am that the people came out and really lived aloha. And they brought a lot of passion here. A lot of these people are akamai. They know what's going on with the New World Order, and they've known for a long time. They know what happened to Hawaii. They can see what's happening to Hawaii right now. Our quality of life is designed to crash right now, and it is crashing. So we're taking action. Nobody got money. Everybody's doing this, scraping the bottom of the barrel. But boy, we are fulfilled with a quality of life and a sense of togetherness and trust. This is living aloha. This is real wealth, and we're co-creating it right now. Now, what the government is going to do, I don't know. One of my friends said, this is a pissing contest, Gene. You know, they come and they bulldoze you out, and they put the yellow tape around it, and they send you a letter that says they're going to fine you people or put you in jail or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then we do this. We plant food. What did we do? We took off some plastic tape. We removed a few wooden signs with little notes on them, and we planted food. We planted ha'aloa, the oldest kupuna of the Hawaiian people, the staple of life, the connection to the stars. And we do it with love. And I look forward to the governor, to all the representatives, all the elected representatives and law enforcement and anybody who took an oath to tell the truth, to really take that seriously. Not just in this situation and what happened in Hawaii, but what's going on in the so-called constitutional republic in this late and some say final hour of freedom. And so I think even though some of us, including myself, we were a little nervous about planting again, I thought maybe we should give them a little more notice. We're going to keep giving them notice. We've only done this with love. And what we're going to do is we're going to ask them in all openness and transparency to come together and over this 3 acres create a special use contract between us. We're not the government of Hawaii. We don't have a government yet really. But we're lawful citizens or subjects. We're people. We're the Hawaii Star Kids, the Ohana, the family. And create a special use contract where we could take this aina and we can malama it, take care of it, nurture it, grow food on it, share the food with everyone, and really fully potentiate this aina. And do it without your permission because Lord knows, and we're still waiting, when will you ever, Uncle Sam and the state of Hawaii and the county of Hawaii and the people who are supposed to defend the truth through the United States Constitution, when will you come forward and show the people of Hawaii that you have evidence of lawful title or jurisdiction? We're waiting with love. Thank you.
Aloha mai kako. You are watching Hawaii Political Reporter.
A think tank, but it's also a do tank because we believe that ideas matter. And so what we do is we research, we bring together the best thinking on some of the issues of the day, and then we offer that thinking to policymakers and to consumers and to citizens so that we can build a better economy, a better government, a better society. And when we have both the good thinking and the good action together, we come up with a harmonious society in which life is better for everyone.
One of the crazy things we do back where I come from is we realize that problem recognition is important. What do you see as the big problems around here?
Well, on one level, we are facing a decline of the aloha spirit in our state. There is such polarization in the political arena, and it's crept into the social arena where individuals take opposite stands, shout at each other, and fail to come together. So I think one of the greatest needs is to create a civic space, if you will, where individuals, even with differing ideas, can come together. Remember, Voltaire once said, "I may not agree with what you have to say, but I will defend to the death your right to say it." I'd say that's one of the first problems. Then again, we also have some very real, objective, hardcore problems, like the level of the economy here. We have one of the or the lowest levels of competitiveness in our economy. We have the highest prices. We're under a great deal of protectionism, and we need to find some real solutions. And that's one of the things we work on at Grassroot Institute in building a better economy for the state. When it comes to government, we're also dealing with issues of transparency and accountability. And wherever someone may stand on a particular issue, whether it be whether we should have fixed rail or not have fixed rail, the underlying issues such as can we afford it? Have we planned appropriately? Are we going to be accountable? Those are issues that Grassroot Institute wants to look at in a very hard way and hold government accountable for.
So in holding government accountable, what do you do? How do you police politicians to prevent them from, say, in 1913, Woodrow Wilson probably cut a deal. I think he was going to push women's suffrage for somebody so he could get elected. Therefore, he got some election help. He actually won a Nobel Prize. How do we stop these kinds of things from happening at our level?
Well, fundamentally, we have to shine the light. We have to do the research that shows where the problem is, who the perpetrators are, and then we have to take that information and get it into the hands of the public and policymakers who want to make a difference. But we go even beyond that. As a think tank that is committed to public policy, we also look at the best solutions and try to bring the brightest people together. But finally, we have to win the public over. And doing that involves getting out with people, talking to them, and making the difficult issues become very understandable at a human level.
The Federal Reserve is no more federal than Federal Express.
You try to hide and destroy our freedom. You seek agenda, we know you anti-American. You come forward American Constitution. 1913, corrupt in the system. Devalue dollar, hyperinflation. The Federal Reserve, controlled by Lisa Farr. He can see you lying.